This is Too Long for a Voice Note, a podcast about everything and nothing at the same time. Presented by Claire
and Enzo. Our podcast is produced in London. Some conversations are just too long for a voice note.
Hey, she's Claire.
And he's Enzo.
And this is Too Long for a Voice Note.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back to the podcast. This is the last episode of 2022.
So you better enjoy it.
How are we feeling?
How are we feeling about 2022?
Well,
now that we're
going to talk about
it
because in this episode we're going to do a wrap up of 2022.
Yes.
So
we don't have a secret topic.
Yeah, we don't have a secret topic.
So we already talk and discuss and chit chat and share notes and list about everything. So before anything, let's thank you for being here. Well, thank you for being with us the whole year. Like, are we getting emotional? Like, thank you guys for being with us. No, it was very cute. Also, we did the Spotify wrap up, so it's kind of cute to see like everyone that's listening to us from different countries and all of that. It's kind of like, thank you for following us and supporting us. So this is really like nice. Looking forward for 2023.
A good year. So please, as always, do remember to like, subscribe, leave us a review on Spotify. It really helps for more people to hear our podcast.
Please, thank you guys. Thank you guys.
And with that being said, shall we begin our wrap up?
Shall we begin?
I think the rough structure of this is that we're gonna look at some good news, things that happened, some bad news, things that happened.
Things that we kind of care, because of course a lot of good and bad stuff happened during the year, but I think we care more about certain things we pay more attention to.
What we think is relevant to you guys, our audience.
I'm gonna be the moderator. Is that the name?
The moderator,
El moderador for the Spanish speaker audience of this day, because we cannot read together all of this information because it's a lot. So we're gonna get into this topic. So also feel free to move forward if you don't want to listen about the topic. Because we're talking about different things. So maybe you're like, I don't want to listen about this. If you move forward for like 10, 20 seconds or a minute, skip. You're gonna listen to the next thing that we'll talk about. So
let's get into it and say.
So. Shall we start with something like, 2022, what a year, right? I think it's been like an interesting, how you feel about overall this year?
For me, it really flew. It really flew this year. Like, it was like but then also I think, like, I feel really different how I did like this December last January, for example. So
a lot of personal growing.
A lot of personal growth. And you?
Yeah,
how about
like
you? And
you tell me. I think you're right. And I think, I don't know, maybe everyone can say that or this. Like, I think everyone felt this year was really quick. I think because this year we're very out of the pandemic and all of that, and I think we're trying to like kind of catch up with everything, and everything felt very fast and quick in a way.
We both had like a lot of trips, a lot of traveling, and that kind of makes things go really quickly. A lot of events. We were both working really hard. So for me, it really flew. But in general, for me, it was actually a good year.
Gracias a Dios. Why I'm bringing so much Spanish words today. Gracias a Dios y a la Virgen. Thank you to the universe for making us this year so good. I think it was a good year for me as well. One thing that made me really think about like, wow, this year really flew, and like what we were just discussing is about like the Ukraine war. It's been like already almost a year.
It started in February time, right?
Yeah, it was like crazy. It's crazy to think that these countries are being in a war for like all this amount of time.
And it's interesting to see how, I think, again, like most news coverage, right, like that was so prominent at the beginning, but now you kind of don't. I mean,
it's part of the reality, kind of.
There is like a section on most news outlets for what's going on in the war, but you don't. It's not like the first thing that you're kind of hearing. So I guess it's kind of like a long.
It's very like human nature of like how like also media works. Was kind of like, it became like a normal thing. Like, those countries are during a war now. It's a bit like, what the fuck, So we're starting February for some that. I mean, it's a bit sad, but it's more than 41,000 dead people already in this time, so that's really sad. And like we're sending all the condolences to everyone. But I think one good thing is kind of like seeing like people trying to help. Now, not now maybe, because people are very like, they forgot about it a bit, and I'm sure a lot of people that are helping still a lot, but I think right at the beginning we could see like everyone was very moved and touched, and they couldn't believe that this was happening. It's kind of like, wow, in 2022 and we're having like a war, what the fuck, right? And I think like something that it's really beautiful is that, for example, like we create like a fundraising, like a Just Giving page, and ask our followers to donate and to help the Ukraine and people that need it the most. And we got like a lot of donations, and I think that was like really moving.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like...
it was really moving. And I think that this war is like, obviously it's still kind of ongoing, so it's like difficult to kind of like talk about it fully but I think you're right, like the reaction to it was quite interesting. I think aside from seeing like the best of human nature, that everybody was really kind of outraged, I did think it did raise some kind of interesting questions about like, there are a lot of wars going on in other countries as well, not to
100%.
diminish what those people are going through at all, but I think if we're honest, a big part of the reaction to it was that it's happening in Europe.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think that maybe that will help us, like, you know, there's like, I think
you're totally right
in a different way.
Yeah, totally right, because again, like when we were like, okay, let's try to do something, let's create this Just Give page, everyone was very open and giving money, which is amazing. Thank you for everyone, and obviously, but you can see, like you said, there's a lot of wars and situations happening all the time around the world, and people that don't seem to be that open. I guess maybe because also we're living in Europe, and obviously we felt this more, but I think it's kind of like a worldwide thing, obviously, as well. So it's definitely a good point. But I think let's hope this ends on. Let's hope for the best. Some interesting stuff happened during this year about regarding that, because we see like the president of Ukraine on the cover of Vogue magazine with a wife.
Exactly.
Weird move.
What's her name?
Leibovitz.
Leibovitz doing the cover for that, doing the pictures for that.
Weird flex, but not sure about it, how to take that. But I guess like, I guess at the end of the day, I don't know, politics and marketing are so connected in a weird way.
It's true.
Strange.
But for sure, the Ukraine war was one of the most kind of things that stood out, I think, globally this year.
Yeah. So this is kind of hilarious in a very... I mean, it's bad, but it's also hilarious. We got the whole situation with the Prime Minister from the UK, Liz Truss, and the whole lettuce drama. Claire, what do you remember about this? For people that don't remember what happened.
So maybe for people who aren't in the UK, we had 3 prime ministers, right? In how many days was it? I'm just looking at our notes. She lasted for...
Well, she lasted for 44 days.
Liz Truss lasted for 44 days. And we had the lettuce. The lettuce outlasted her. So she was out before the lettuce was gone and dead.
It's so funny, because when I was looking on internet, because I remember the lettuce thing, but I didn't remember like how that happened to be, like why we had a lettuce with a wig.
How did that come out?
Well, basically, it was the Economist. They released like an opinion piece comparing like Liz Truss, like brevity. They were saying like her time working for the government, it would be shorter than a lettuce, basically.
So they'd already kind of predicted that, basically.
They kind of predicted that. So the Daily Star, they took this idea and they were like, you know what? Let's do something. They create a live stream with a lettuce with a whole week, and that lettuce was Liz Truss. And there was like literally like a live stream where you can see just a lettuce there for all this time. And actually, when Liz Truss was out of the government, the lettuce was still alive.
The lettuce was still there. Whatever happened to the lettuce, do we know?
Well, that's interesting, because the lettuce, after that, she became like, which I think it's kind of cool from the Daily Star that did it. They did this page on the internet where you can donate and get a personalized message from the lettuce.
Right.
So, for every £13 that you donate, you will get like a message, like handwriting message with the lettuce next to it for you or for your friend.
Okay.
So strange, but all this money was like, all the proceeds were going to a charity.
Okay,
so that's kind of
good
good thing. And it was crazy. It got like more than 50,000 likes in the first day. The same as 15,000 of views. It's like I think it's kind of like how weird and bad everything is going, that we need like a way out to kind of distract ourselves,
I think,
right?
To be honest as well, like the lettuce thing, I think one good thing that like Brits are really good at is kind of using quite dark humour to kind of like get through things, let's say. I think that's one of like our strengths. So obviously it is a joke, like having 3 prime ministers in such a short space of time. And obviously with Liz Truss, it was a disaster. You know, it was a really bad time as well, which I think we'll get onto it. Like she came in, the Queen then died. So it's a lot of different things at the same time. But it was, you know, that announcement that she made about the budget then like absolutely like shook the economy completely and like really plunged the pound.
And we're still feeling
it.
So
it's quite serious. Like I think they're kind of having to like undo a lot of the stuff that she did. So But, you know, there we go, the lettuce. It kind of like added a bit of humour to the situation.
If you're watching the video, we're going to put like a photo or something of the lettuce. And we're happy I mean, in theory, the lettuce needs to last like 10 days because that's how long it should last.
But what a disaster,
and she lasts more than 44 days.
It was
so
really a disaster. That whole thing was really bad.
A disaster. But as you say, I think it's kind of interesting how you use humor to kind of go with it, because at the end of the day, like, we as citizens, we cannot do much as long as if you can vote, okay, but apart from that, there's not much in the situation to do, right? So it's a bit true. Like
moving on probably to the Queen's death. The Queen sadly died, so around that same time. So we're talking like it was around September. It was September time, wasn't it? Because we had Liz Truss going into it, but then the Queen died really shortly
That's
after.
crazy, right? Yeah, like it's kind of interesting to live here while the Queen died.
Yeah, so how was your experience of that?
That was my question to you. It's like,
well, we can go into that.
How do you feel about the Queen dying? No, I don't know. It was weird because I think it's something that I heard since I moved here, and like I heard this a lot, like people saying like, oh, how it's gonna be when the Queen died.
Yeah.
And probably if you live here, probably you're gonna be here because obviously she had already she died really old, so we were expecting like her death at one point of all. It's normal because humans, right? And it was funny because they were saying like, oh, are you gonna be there when the Queens die? It was like a thing. But then when you are here and you see it's like a person die, it's very strange because I don't know, I felt like obviously like the young people of the country, they didn't give a shit. I mean, I was on the street. I was with some friends and they were British and they were very unbothered about it. They were very like, oh yeah, okay, whatever.
Which British friends?
I can't disclose which British friends. No, they were people from work, right?
Okay, fine.
But you can tell they didn't really care. It was a bit like,
really?
oh yeah, very sad, but that's it. It's not like no one was that crying or no one was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
If anything, the contrary, it's kind of like, well, just like a monarchy, and etc. Because we know it's a complicated topic. But I felt more like, maybe the older generation, they were moved by it.
Definitely,
but I guess like you didn't call me crying that day, for example.
No, I was like,
no, but I
think
that was such a British thing to do.
Right,
the Queen died would be like, wow.
It's weird though. Like I do remember, like it did feel really strange. Like I was out when she died. I mean, obviously in the day, I think we kind of knew that she was going to die, whether or not she'd already died, that we won't know.
Yeah.
But we were kind of expecting it. And then I think when I got the notification, I was out and I was like, oh my God. And then this random guy turned to me and was like, oh my God, the Queen is dead.
Interesting.
And he actually was foreign, like he had an accent. So it was really interesting. I was like, yeah, I know. Like I just saw on the news, like blah, blah, blah. Like, and that was a complete stranger that I was I think I was like waiting outside the gym for something, and he was just like, oh my God, the Queen is dead. I was like, yeah.
Like, crazy, right?
Yeah.
I think like the Queen was the Queen for everyone. That's the thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I think everyone in the world, if they talk about the Queen, it's the Queen. You know, if it felt, it's not like other like big monarchies like Spanish monarchy or from other countries that are a bit like very local.
Yeah.
I feel like the Queen was the Queen for the world.
Because of the Commonwealth.
For the Commonwealth, and obviously like I think there's a lot of like a pop star factor, you know what I mean, behind
Definitely. She's an icon.
It's an icon, you know, and also everything that happened like around the family, Diana, and now Meghan and Harry and her son, you know, it's always been very like out there, so it's kind of like it's like a celebrity. So I think everyone was kind of like, oh, definitely. I think one thing I remember when I was going back home from that day, like seeing like all the billboards everywhere with her face, it's kind of like, oh, that was something that was kind of like, oh yeah, it's crazy that she's actually dead. It's like, it's also weird that your dead is prepared, you know, like in that way. It's kind of mental.
We actually went with all of our friends and my mum to Lake, because my mum, as I said, like the older generation, I think older Brits, I think were really shook by it. So we went to go lay flowers at Buckingham Palace. We actually went.
Lots of people.
My mum was extremely keen to do that. She was like, that woman was laying her flowers. She was going for it, putting her flowers down.
Honestly.
She was like, take a picture of me. I took a picture of me. I was like, okay, lady. But that atmosphere was, don't think I've ever felt anything like that.
It was very interesting.
We went, we went on the Friday. I think she died on the Wednesday or the Thursday, right? So we went a couple of days after.
Yeah, a couple of days. But you can feel like everyone was like...
all journalists from all around the world were there. And there were thousands of people there, but it was silent. I remember thinking that.
True, that was silent. Yeah, it was full of people, but it was silent. Yeah,
It was very
and the energy.
Eerie.
Yeah,
very eerie.
A lot of flowers and things.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
But that's like a massive moment in history that we've lived through.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that happened this year.
She was the longest reign of any female monarch in history. More than 71 years.
Yeah.
71 years. That's mental. So yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know. That was very interesting to live here. And I was kind of happy that I was here. In the sense of like, to experience that, you know? It's kind of like, you know, when I'm old, I can be like, I was there when the queen died. Like, I'll be like, oh, fuck off, who cares? Shut up, old man. I was there. I laid the flowers. How crazy, right?
Yeah, no, it's true.
We have obviously music.
Okay,
Always
so moving on to a fun
music,
topic.
fun topic. So like, I think it was especially like interesting, like positive year for music for women. Like women, they have like I saw this article. I think it was from the LA Times, maybe. I don't know. It was like a big American publication saying like the year that men flopped. You know, it's kind of like, apart from like, I mean, of course, it's like a Bad Bunny, and there's a lot of men that are like having success. Kendrick Lamar, etc. But this is the year that actually men had less success, like in this term than women. So it's kind of like,
good for the ladies.
And you know, we got Dua Lipa, we have Lizzo, we got Doja Cat, we have Rosalia, we have women taking over music this year a lot. Taylor Swift, of course. So it's kind of like good to see, like, in fact, like the most, even though like the most stream artist this year was Bad Bunny. It's a man, but at least it's a Latin man, so it's kind of like diversity. And the second one is Taylor Swift, so it's a woman. So it's kind of like you can see a bit more of diversity on who's on the top now. So for whatever are the reasons, but it's good to see like changes always. Like, you know, it's not always the same people, the same, you know. So that's kind of interesting.
I think it was a really good year for music, to be honest. Like, I think, for us, like, obviously Bad Bunny was like one that we were waiting for. Rosalia.
Definitely,
We had Kendrick Lamar's album.
Beyonce had an album. Well,
we're not really fans of Taylor Swift. But sorry to our friend Nora, who was definitely watching, but we have to be honest, but that was huge.
Well, she did very well. As always. So that was really...
Yeah, there was a lot.
I think it's a cool year for that. I think, like, I guess, like, music always save everyone kind of thing, right?
Definitely.
Like, it's kind of like what makes you feel totally better, like...
Completely. And we went to some really
concerts.
Iconic concerts.
Yeah.
We went to Xtina.
We went together. And to Rosalia.
And Rosalia.
It was such a cute, like cycle for us, because you know, like we saw Xtina together, and then we saw Rosalia together. So it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like our friendship. It's been based on Rosalia, basically, like Rosalia lyrics. So
exactly, it's true.
So that's kind of like kind of
it's
cool.
really nice. I think because we both knew Rosalia. Not to be like we knew Rosalia before she was really famous, but to be honest,
she didn't know she was Rosalia. We knew her, you know.
Exactly. So no, we both obviously loved Rosalia from like the beginning.
Yeah.
So we bonded over that. So then when we saw her, we were like, oh my god! And that concert was like one of the best for sure. Like people are saying it's really one of the best concerts of this year, and so I'm so grateful that we saw that.
The concept of it, the visuals are really, really great.
Like really, really.
So
unique.
that's really great because she had like a really massive year as well. Rosalia is another woman,
and it's such a feminist album as well. That album.
Yeah. And and also in the Latin Grammys this year, like
she won two.
Actually, Rosalia and Xtina, they were the most nominated.
Cute.
Rosalia had like 8 nominations, and Xtina had 7.
Amazing.
So you know, it's good to see like women being like on the top of this. You know, I think it's a good year overall for women. Of course, nothing against men, but we know how things work in the world, so it's good to see that. And we had a lot of fun with that. Team music really
concerts. Like extremely good year for music.
Made a year better.
I wonder who's going to come out in 2023.
I think it's Riri, right? It's her. I mean, she released the song for the soundtrack of Black Panther. Which was cute ballad, blah blah blah. But that's it.
She'll be doing the Super Bowl in February.
I think it's February. Yeah, so that's massive.
That's huge.
That's huge. Riri, the Super Bowl. I cannot wait because I hope it comes with new music as well, because it's kind of like really.
Oh my god, that would be great. I'm hoping that Frank Ocean will finally.
I think so, right? It's his time. I think next year probably will be like Frank Ocean and
think so.
Rihanna's year most likely.
What else is on the list? Anything else?
Well, we can wrap up with maybe talking about movies, maybe.
Oh,
like
great. Okay, interesting.
I have like a thing with this year with movies. I think I had some movies that I like, but there was one specific movie that was very controversial this year, and we both watched, and it's called Blonde.
Blonde, yeah.
And it's Blonde. It's the actress is Ana de Armas, and it's based on a fictional story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's based on a book.
On a book. Yeah. It's about Marilyn Monroe, but it's all fictional. It's kind of like an interpretation of the writer about fame and things.
It's based on. It's kind of the interpretation of it. It's not actually really based on Marilyn. It's just based on an actress who clearly is Marilyn, but it's like it's not actually meant to be representative of her life. So there was a lot of controversy surrounding this film. I think it's unavoidable. Even if you're not into films, I don't think you could have avoided hearing about this film.
Definitely, yeah. And there was a lot of drama, a lot of people that saying they cannot watch more than 20 minutes of the movie. Netflix was bashed about it as well, like how can you put this movie up, etc, etc, etc. Even though obviously the movie ended up doing well because everyone was watching it out of the curiosity anyway. But in a nutshell, what's your thoughts about this movie? Because I think it's like a very controversial thing.
I mean, the good for me was that Ana de Armas was amazing.
She got a nomination for the Golden Globes.
Did she get a nomination?
Yeah,
she
Best
thoroughly
Actress.
deserves that. She's really, really good in it.
Really, really.
I don't think you can fault her acting.
Yeah,
it is beautiful. The cinematography of that film is stunning. It is stunning. But on the other hand, it's a really problematic film. So, for example, without spoiling things too much, she has a couple of abortions, right?
Yeah.
And in one of them, it's very, very. I read it as very sort of anti-choice. It's not really pro-choice. I think that was quite problematic. I think there are some really unnecessary sex scenes in there.
Yeah.
There's a scene where she's giving
a blowjob,
and it's really the angle is really horrible.
Yeah.
It did feel a bit like fetishization, a little bit.
And anti-feminist as well,
I
maybe
think
in a way.
It felt anti-feminist, yeah. I think it would have been so different. So, for example, to compare with a film that I really did love this year, I don't think you've seen it, it's Don't Worry, Darling.
No, I haven't.
And it's funny because there was a lot of controversy surrounding that film. The director is Olivia Wilde.
Yeah.
And it's with Harry Styles and Florence. What's her name?
Pog. Sorry, Florence. I'm gonna send you a text.
She's great though.
Please forgive us.
Instagram at Florence Pug.
Sorry.
But that is obviously directed by a woman, and I really felt that. There's a lot of sex scenes where you can just so see that that's directed by a woman because it's obviously from about what women like and female pleasure. Whereas with Blonde, it was the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I think that I would challenge people to actually watch the film though, because I think you should probably. It's important to watch things and then make your own decision about it.
Honestly,
it's really long. It's something I never want to see ever again.
Honestly,
yeah. What were your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I watched it. I watched it without knowing it. It was not based actually on Marilyn Monroe. It was just a fictional story. When I watched, I was just waiting for it because the trailer looked really good. It is Ana de Armas, so I was very curious about it. So I watched it with my mom. We watched it in 2 goes because it's really long. And we were a bit shocked because, we were in a lot of moments we were like, oh, I didn't know that happened. Or my mom was like, oh, I never heard about that. Oh, I didn't know she had a relationship with 2 guys at the same time. But then obviously when you realize it's all fiction or when you read about it, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But I think what is amazing about this movie is the visual part of it. I think visually it's one of the most beautiful movies I've seen in a really long time. It's literally there are some shots and moments, and Ana de Armas, she pulled it off such a good role. There's moments that there's just scenes that are still just a one shot of her evoking emotions and moving her face in certain ways. You're like, wow, you're great, you're doing amazing.
Yeah.
Of course, there's things that are very problematic, and I think the director was a bit defensive about the movie at the end of the day. I think he really didn't I was reading a bit on the internet, and I think he was kind of not acknowledging that other people had thoughts of it being oh, this is sexist or maybe blah 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 blah. which I also understand. Maybe when you create something, you put it out there and you think that's done for me. But I guess things also, they have consequences sometimes, right? Especially with movies and things like that.
For sure.
So,
and I think also when you're making a film, okay, it was based on a novel, it's based on fiction, but if you are bringing in, I think that was a big problem, like bringing in somebody's legacy, bringing in somebody's story. A lot of it was based on her past. Like in this film, she's an orphan.
They're using her face, using her story.
Like that's quite, you need to be quite careful, I think, with that. So I think there is a responsibility.
I think the problem, and not to go too long with this, but I think the problem with Marilyn is she would always be exploited by everyone, and that's this Marilyn Monroe story at the end of the day. Media, publications, like everyone was kind of always wanting to take a piece of her because for whatever she represents. And it's kind of interesting. I put like a quote here from the director, which was talking about that, like, they were telling like, oh, well, you were exploiting her. And she said like, oh, he said like, oh, it's interesting, like people is thinking that because, you know, he say like, well, you know, she's dead. And what I really mean is the film exploited the memory or image of her, which is fair enough. It does. So he recognized that the movie is really exploiting the image of her. It's exploiting, like, using her image to kind of like, you know, as everyone has done with her. But at the same time, it's kind of like, it's trying, for me, he said, like, it's trying to take things that you are familiar with and turn the meaning and then and them inside out. That's what they don't like. So basically, he said that people don't like the idea of taking something that is familiar and moving around to show different perspectives of a problem.
I think that's a bit of a reach.
But that's a bit of a reach, I thought as well.
Then we can all say that. That's just, it's quite defensive, like you said.
It's a bit defensive, It's
just him saying like, oh, people don't like it because like I've done something like creative and arty with it. That's not true. That wasn't the problem that people had with it.
Do you think he felt that very like, because it was written by a woman, this book, he felt a bit like safe to do whatever he wants because he would be like, well, it was written by a woman, so if a woman had this point of view, like, why are you attacking me? Kind of thing. Which I think is a good point here.
Yeah, maybe. And also,
it's written from the point of view of a woman at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Which not every woman not all women are feminist, and not all women, they say they have the best choices for other women, or they have the best things, but
then don't you also think it's a bit different between like writing about something and showing something visually? Do you know what I mean? Like it's like maybe choices, not, but like graphic word. I don't know. Like maybe that's a topic for another day. But like graphic words and graphic visualization, like it can be writing about somebody giving a blowjob to JFK.
It could be poetic in a way or whatever
on screen with her head being like moved up and down. It's two very different things for me, I think.
Good point.
Personally, but
I don't know. Well, interesting. I think this movie was one of the movies this year that really like
sparked controversy.
And I think at the end of the day, I think everyone should watch it if you are into this, because also they have beautiful moments representing real moments of Marilyn, like this beautiful like iconic scenes, and it's kind of cool to see like the representation of some stuff. And also there's like a lot of photos and reference that are exactly the same as in real life. So, you know, it's kind of like a lot of like work behind it, which I think is really nice.
That's
so
very true.
If you're into that, definitely, So
I think that was everything pretty much, right? I mean, we could have spoken about lots of different things. But because we the whole year.
We have the World Cup, which is a whole disaster as well. World Cup, we have like Shakira being cheated on, you know, that's like a thing.
Ben and Jen got married
that's a big, I think we talked about this already on the podcast, but they got married.
That was huge.
They're together, etc. So, you know, that was huge as well. So
let's see what 2023 holds for the podcast. Yes, and guys, thank you again for coming back for another year.
Well, can't wait to see you next year. Thank you for the support. And well, we're going to be next year here with you. Better than ever.
For sure.
Hopefully.
Well, Happy New Year, guys.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.